Welcome to a story of discovery, inspiration, and change. Today let's deep dive into one of the most compelling post-divorce dramas that has caught everyone's attention, and please like this video to trigger the algorithm. Corey and Tia's unexpected saga. What started as a seemingly straightforward separation has turned into a narrative filled with twists, turns, and no shortage of public opinion. Is it a graduation, a commiseration, or something entirely different? Join me as we unpack the highs and lows of this modern-day tale, where the lines between winner and loser are not as clear-cut as they seem. Divorce is often described as a painful but necessary process of two people going their separate ways, but for Tia and Corey, it was much more. When Tia referred to their divorce as a graduation, she probably meant it as a triumph over a marriage that no longer served her. However, if Tia graduated, then Corey must have flunked out in spectacular fashion, left to wander aimlessly while Tia walked away with almost everything, from the house to the kids, and perhaps even the Netflix password. But the story doesn't end there. In a twist of fate, Corey finds himself landing a multi-million-dollar deal, flipping the script on their post-divorce narrative. This article delves into the complexities of Corey and Tia's post-divorce saga, exploring the societal expectations placed on men in marriage and divorce, and questioning what, if anything, men stand to gain from the institution in the first place. The anatomy of Tia's graduation. When Tia filed for divorce, she might as well have sent out invitations to a graduation ceremony. But instead of caps flying in the air, it was the sound of virtual champagne corks popping. Onlookers, especially from the online sisterhood, celebrated Tia's newfound freedom. They viewed her as a superhero, someone who had successfully liberated herself from a marriage that no longer benefited her. Tia's narrative became one of empowerment, a woman reclaiming her life and walking away with her head held high. However, in this so-called graduation, Corey was the one who appeared to be left behind, barely scraping by with his dignity intact. Tia's victory seemed complete. She had secured the house, the car, the kids, and likely even the small comforts like the Netflix account. To many, it seemed like Corey was the one who had failed, not just at marriage, but at life in general. He was the guy who lost it all, left holding his own hand while Tia moved on with her life. But as the dust settled, the real question emerged: what did Tia truly win? Was it freedom? Empowerment? Or just the trappings of a life that now seemed incomplete in hindsight? The narrative of her triumphant graduation began to unravel when Corey, seemingly out of nowhere, landed a lucrative contract worth $70 million. Suddenly, the tables turned, and the very people who had cheered for Tia began to view Corey in a new light. Corey's $70 million twist. Corey's unexpected financial windfall completely changed the narrative. With $70 million in his pocket, Corey was no longer just the guy who lost his wife and kids, he became the guy who everyone suddenly found interesting again. In the eyes of many, he went from being a cautionary tale to a success story. The same women who once celebrated Tia's escape now looked at Corey with envy and suspicion, as if he had somehow planned this all along. It's ironic how quickly opinions can change when money enters the equation. Corey, once pitied and mocked, now found himself the subject of admiration, or at least of a begrudging respect. The financial success that eluded him during his marriage now served as a powerful narrative reversal, turning him from a loser into a winner almost overnight. This twist raises questions about the societal perception of men and money. While Corey's success did not erase the pain of his divorce, it did give him something tangible to show for his struggles, a consolation prize that, while not replacing the family he lost, at least softened the blow. But what does this say about the expectations placed on men? Is a man's worth still tied to his financial success, and if so, what does that mean for men who find themselves on the losing end of a divorce? The double-edged sword of public opinion. The public reaction to Corey and Tia's post-divorce lives reveals a lot about societal attitudes towards men and women in marriage. When Tia walked away with everything, she was celebrated as a strong, independent woman who took control of her life. Corey, on the other hand, was seen as the failure, the one who couldn't keep it together. But when Corey landed his multi-million-dollar deal, the narrative shifted. Suddenly, Corey was no longer just a loser, he was a man who had risen from the ashes, and the same people who had once pitied him now envied him. This shift in public opinion highlights the unrealistic expectations placed on men. If a man earns a lot of money, he is often seen as the controlling breadwinner, someone who holds too much power in the marriage. But if he doesn't earn enough, he is seen as a failure, someone who can't provide for his family. There seems to be no middle ground, no way for a man to simply be enough. In the court of public opinion, a man is either too much or not enough, rarely just right. For Corey, the $70 million deal was both a blessing and a curse. It gave him financial security and a sense of vindication, but it also reinforced the idea that a man's worth is tied to his bank account. This is a double-edged sword, as it suggests that men can only redeem themselves through financial success. But what about the men who don't have a $70 million deal waiting in the wings? What about the men who are left with nothing after a divorce? What does society expect of them? Tia's grass wasn't greener on the other side. While Corey's financial success has given him a newfound sense of power, Tia's life post-divorce has reportedly not been as rosy as she expected. The grass, it seems, isn't always greener on the other side. For Tia, the realization that freedom comes with its own set of challenges has likely been a sobering one. Perhaps it's the realization that financial independence doesn't necessarily equate to happiness, or maybe it's the recognition that those $70 million now sitting in Corey's bank account are looking awfully nice from where she's standing. Tia's situation raises important questions about the nature of divorce and what women truly want from it. Is it really about freedom and empowerment, or is it about something else entirely? For Tia, the answer might be more complicated than she initially thought. While she walked away with the material possessions, Corey walked away with something more intangible but equally valuable: the sense that he could survive, and even thrive, without her. This isn't to say that Tia's choice to divorce Corey was wrong, only that it came with its own set of consequences. In the end, both Tia and Corey had to face the reality of their decisions, and for Tia, that reality might not be as satisfying as she once believed. The broader implications: what's in it for a man? The story of Corey and Tia's post-divorce drama highlights a broader issue. What's in it for a man in marriage if, no matter what happens, he's somehow to blame? The expectations placed on men in marriage and divorce are incredibly high, and the consequences of not meeting those expectations can be devastating. If a man makes a lot of money, he's seen as controlling. If he doesn't, he's seen as a failure. This double standard leaves men in a precarious position, where their worth is constantly being evaluated and often found wanting. The benefit of marriage for a man, then, might not be what society has traditionally believed. Instead of being a source of comfort and stability, marriage can often feel like a trap, where a man is constantly on trial, both by his spouse and by society at large. For many men, the only way to navigate this minefield is to keep a good therapist on speed dial and to master the art of selective hearing, especially when it comes to the chorus of opinions from the ex-wife's peanut gallery. But what does this mean for the future of marriage? If men increasingly feel that they have nothing to gain from the institution, will they start to opt out altogether? And if they do, what will that mean for society as a whole? These are important questions that need to be addressed, not just for the sake of men, but for the sake of marriage itself. The final lesson: Murphy's Law in marriage. In the end, the story of Corey and Tia's post-divorce drama serves as a reminder of one simple truth: in the game of marriage and divorce, Murphy's Law reigns supreme. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and often in ways that are completely unexpected. For Tia, that might mean realizing that the freedom she sought isn't as fulfilling as she hoped. For Corey, it might mean discovering that success doesn't always bring happiness, but it can bring a sense of vindication. But perhaps the real lesson here is that marriage, like life, is unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan, no matter how much you try to control the outcome, things rarely turn out the way you expect. And while a $70 million consolation prize might make the journey a bit easier, it doesn't change the fact that the road is long, winding, and often filled with unexpected detours. In the end, the best any of us can do is to navigate the twists and turns as best we can, and to remember that sometimes, the only way to survive the journey is to keep moving forward, no matter what. And if you're lucky, you might just find that the journey itself is the real prize. To sum it up, as we've seen, the story of Corey and Tia is much more than a simple tale of divorce. It's a reflection of the complex and often contradictory expectations society places on both men and women in marriage. In this narrative, victory and defeat are not just about who gets the house or the money, they're about self-perception, public opinion, and the ongoing struggle to define what winning really means. As we continue to watch this drama unfold, one thing is clear: in the game of life and love, the real victory lies in how we adapt, grow, and ultimately, move forward.